Okay, everyone, today we're going to be dealing with the circumference of a circle. So let's fill out here our first check mark. So what goes here is the distance around a circle. So the circumference is the distance around a circle. So if I start here at this point and I work my way all the way around my circle here and I travel in a circular fashion and I end up at the same place where I started, that is the circumference of that circle all the way around. And what we call circumference in math is C. So we're going to say C is equal to, we're going to find C here, okay? We're going to find C. So one thing that you guys should look familiar is the radius here. You see the distance between the center and the side of this circle here. The distance between the center and the side is called the radius, right? Which we represent as R, okay? Now, if you notice, there's a new word here. This is called diameter. So the diameter of the circle is when you go from one point on the circle and you cross the center and go all the way around to the other side of the circle. So if you notice though, a radius is from the center to the side. So this diameter is made up of, look, from here is 1r, and from the center the other way is another r, another radius. So the diameter is equal to 2 r's. So the diameter is r plus r. So on a side note here, we're going to say diameter D is equal to how many r's? R plus r. Well, r plus r is just 2r. 1r plus 1r is 2r. So the diameter is equal to 2r, right? Well, the circumference in a circle, we're going to use the formula C is equal to 2 times r times pi, right? So C, this is our big formula, is equal to 2 times r times pi. So this is the formula that we're going to use to find the circumference of a circle. Now, I want you to also remember that formula as well. Diameter is equal to 2r. The diameter from a point from one side of the circle all the way to the other, passing through the center, is equal to 2r's. From here to the center is 1r, and the other way from this center to the other side is another r. R and r is 2r's. So the diameter is equal to 2r's. So we're going to find the circumference using these two formulas right here. Now, depending on what they ask for, we're going to use either one of the formulas, okay? So the first example says, find C if your diameter is 20. So this is our D here. Our diameter is 20. So they give us a diameter. They gave us D. So we need to use this D formula. D is equal to 2R. Now, I already know what D is. What is D? D is equal to 20. So I'm going to substitute Where I see D, I'm going to put 20. So 20 is equal to 2r. Well, how do I solve for r here? How do I get r by itself? Well, this says 2 times r, so the opposite of multiplying is dividing. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So look at that. 10 is equal to r. R is the radius. But look what this says here. Find C. We need to find C. Well, how do we find C? The formula is right there. So C is equal to 2 times r times pi. Now, I have r. I know what r is. How much is r? R is 10, right? So I'm going to substitute 2 times 10 times pi. 2 times 10 is 20. So I have 20 pi. Now, sometimes in math, they leave it in pi terms. This is what they call in terms of pi. It means leave the pi there. Don't get rid of the pi. The pi is part of the answer. So this answer is 20 pi. Or they could say solve to the nearest 10th place. So that means that we have to take our calculator here. All right, see, make sure that you guys can see here. We have to take our calculator and we have to multiply, what does that say? 20 times pi. So we have to multiply 20 times, where's my pi? Right there. Pi is equal to 62.83. So I get 62.83. Now I'm going to round to the nearest 10th place. 10th, how many zeros does 10 have? It has 1 0, right? So I'm going to go one number after the decimal. And the number after that is 3. So the 3 is going to tell the 8 what to do. So since 3 is less than 5, it's 4, 3, 2, or 1. It's going to tell the 8 to stay the same. So the answer is going to be 62.8 miles in this case because it's mi, miles. So both of these answers are correct. The only thing is that this first one is in pi terms and this one is in decimal terms, right? So depending on what they ask you, you're either going to leave it like this, or you're going to leave it like that. The first one is in pi, the second was in decimal. Okay? So that's the first example. Second example, we're going to see where it says find C. So find C. So we know we have to use this formula for sure. So I'm going to write it over here. C is equal to 2 times r times pi. C is equal to 2 times r times pi, okay? If you have radius, wait a minute, they gave us r, they gave us radius, and what did I do radius up here? Just like we did on the other problem, we did a radius is in purple. And this is my r here. See? Now this problem only has r. There's no d in this problem. There's no diameter. It's not going across. It's only r. So there's no need to do this over here like I did with d equals 2r. We can just go straight to the formula. So I'm going to say C is equal to 2 times, how much is r? R is 3 times pi. 2 times 3 is 6. So I get 6 pi. So this is the answer in terms of pi, 6 pi. But if I want a decimal, right, I want it in decimal form, I have to do in the calculator 6 times pi, which gives you 18.84. Now again, my tens place is one number after the decimal. My tens place is one number after the decimal. So that means that this 4 is going to tell the 8 what to do. And since it's less than 5, it's going to tell the 8 to stay the same. So we're going to say C is equal to 18.8 is going to stay the same. Miles. In this case, we're dealing with miles as well. And these are our 2 answers, depending on whether they ask you for in terms of pi or in terms of decimal. Now we're going to see right now some questions where they ask you either give the answer in terms of pi or give the answer in terms of decimal by rounding to the nearest tenth. So let's do some examples of that. All right. Let's get our questions here. All right. So look at this one here. Let's see. So these are Delta Math examples. So this is what it's going to look like on Delta Math. So the radius of a circle is 13. Well, let's draw our circle. And I know my circle has a center. And it says the radius. Remember, the radius goes from the center to the side. So from the center to the side, my radius is 13. So this is 13 here. Find its circumference in terms of pi. Find C. Find its circumference in terms of pi, right? So we know that this is my radius, and my radius is in purple, right? This is my R. My R is in purple. Now in this case, we're not dealing with diameter. There is no D. Nowhere in the problem does it say diameter. So we do not need to use this D equals 2R. We do not need to use it because it doesn't say diameter. So we're going to go straight to our C formula, our circumference formula. So we're going to say C is equal to 2 times R times pi. So I'm going to substitute because R is my purple and R is 13. So I'm going to say equals 2 times my R is 13 times pi. 2 times 13 is 26. And then I bring down my pi. Now in this case, look what it says here. In terms of pi. So they want me to leave the pi. So I'm going to leave the pi right here. I'm not going to find the decimal because it doesn't say round to the nearest tenth. It says in terms of pi, so I'm going to leave pi. So when you input it in Delta Math, you're literally going to put the number. So in this case, I would put 26, and then I would put the pi symbol in the answers. 26, and then the pi symbol in the answer. Make sure you press the keyboard on the bottom of Delta Math to bring up your pi. Don't just try to input it with your keyboard. Okay, bring up the keyboard that's in Delta Math on the bottom, and then there's a pi button there. Okay, so let's do this next one here. Let's see. This one says the diameter. Ah, look at that. Well, let's draw the circle first. I'm going to draw the circle, and I'm going to put a dot in the center, right? This is the diameter. So I know the diameter goes from one side all the way to the other side of the circle, like this. And it says the diameter is 14. So this is 14 inches, right? 14 inches. So the whole thing is 14. It says find the circumference in terms of pi. Find the circumference in terms of pi. So we're going to leave our answer with pi, just like the above example, right? But this has a diameter. It gives us the diameter. So we need to use our d equals 2r formula first, right? So we're going to say d is equal to 2r. Well, how much is d? How much is our diameter? Our diameter is 14, so I'm going to substitute. And I'm going to say 14 is equal to 2r. Well, how do I get r by itself here? I bring down my r. This says 2 times r. So the inverse or the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So I cross out 2 and I divide by 2. 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I have my r now, right? I have r. Now I need to find the circumference. So the formula for circumference is c equals 2 times r times pi. C equals 2 times r times pi. Now I'm just going to substitute because I know what r is. How much is r? R is equal to 7. So I'm going to say 2 times 7 times pi. 2 times 7 is equal to 14. And I bring down my pi. And I say c is equal to 14 pi. I do not multiply pi because this one is asking me in terms of pi. Leave the pi in the answer, 14 pi. So that's what you enter in Delta Math. Again, make sure you use the keyboard on the bottom of the screen of Delta Math. Hit the keyboard and you can see the pi button there, okay? 2 more examples here, okay? This one says find the radius. Well, I know the radius is purple. Find the radius. Oh, I'm sorry, the radius, not find the radius. The radius of a circle is 2.6 inches. Okay? Find the circumference to the nearest tenth. Find the circumference to the nearest tenth. That means that we want a decimal. No pi, we want an actual decimal. Okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my circle here. I'm going to put my point in the center. This says the radius. The radius is from the center to the side. So I'm going to draw a line from the center to the side. And that's my radius. That's my r. Well, how much is my r? My r is 2.6. Look at that. 2.6 is my r, right? So nowhere on this problem does it say diameter or d. Nowhere does it say diameter. So now I am not going to use this part of the notes. I'm going to go straight to C. So I'm going to say C is equal to 2 times r times pi. Okay, my r is in purple. Forgot it here as well. So I know that my r is 2.6. So I'm going to say 2 times 2.6 times pi. So 2 times 2.6 is 5.2 pi. Now remember, this one says to the nearest 10th. So you need to pull up your calculator on the top of Delta Math, and you need to put in 5.2 times pi is equal to 18.336. But I'm only going to the 10th place, so I'm only going to go, 16, not 18, 0.33. Because my 10th place is one number after the decimal. So one number after the decimal is 3. this 3 is going to tell this 3 what to do. And since it's less than 5, it's going to tell this 3 to stay a 3. So that means that the final solution is going to be C is equal to 16.3. 16.3. And finally, we're going to do one more example right here. It says the diameter, right, of a circle is 19 feet. So let's draw our circle. Let's draw our point in the middle. The diameter goes from one side all the way to the other, going through the center. So from one side all the way to the other, going to the center. This is 19 feet, right? So since we have a diameter, they tell us the diameter. I need to use my D formula. D equals 2R. So D equals 2R. Well, I know what D is. My D, this is D by the way. My diameter is 19. So I'm going to say 19, I'm going to substitute for D, is equal to 2R. And I draw my line of separation, and I want to get R by itself. So this says 2 times R. So the inverse of multiplying is dividing. So I cross out 2 here, and I'm going to divide here on the other side. So 19 divided by 2 is 9.5. So I have my R now, right? Now I need to find the circumference to the nearest 10. So I need to find C now. I need to find the circumference. So my C formula, and I've used it 3 more times, C is equal to 2 times R times pi. So that means that this is my purple, and I have my R here. My R is in purple, right? Just like I had it up here. My R is in purple, so I'm going to substitute. Equals 2 times, my R is 9.5 times pi. So I'm going to multiply 2 times 9.5 is equal to 19. 19 pi. And I'm going to need to find the nearest 10th place. So I can't leave it in pi. I have to multiply 19 times pi. So I say 19 times pi is equal to 56.59, I'm sorry, 0.69. 59.69. The number in the 10th place is the 6, one number after the decimal. And the 9 is going to tell the 6 what to do, which is going to tell it to go up to a 7. So my circumference is going to be 59.7. And that's my final solution right there. So, as you can see, these last 2 problems were to the nearest 10th, so I write a decimal. The first 2 problems said in terms of pi, so the answers, I left pi with the answers. Okay, so if you need to watch the video again, go ahead and watch it. Make sure you're doing the problems with me, right? Make sure you're doing the problems with me. It would make things much easier if you do the problems with me, okay? Remember, if you have diameter, D is equal to 2R. Circumference is equal to 2 times R times pi, right? In problems where you don't have diameter, we do not use 2d equals 2r. But ones that have diameter, we do have to use it. Okay, so keep that in mind.